I've often wondered, with the intro that we've just watched, which I filmed myself at Upton Park, right? So that was filmed 10 years ago. Do any of you that watched this ever recognise yourselves in the intro? I've just watched the intro back, and I'm obviously going to attach it to the start of this video. I often wondered that. Does anyone recognise themselves from that? I've got loads and loads of footage from Upton Park, and yeah, I've caught so many people on there, so many people that I know, and I've gone back and I've looked at footage. Oh, there's such and such, there's such and such. Mostly the East Stand and Bobby Moore. Yeah, in fact, primarily those two. But yeah, if you've ever recognised yourself, I'd be interested to know in the comments. But yeah, I was basically sat there. Pitch side. I was pitch side. We used to be in the club's good books once upon a time. We used to do did some Snapchat stuff for them. We used to, myself and Gio used to do interviews to go on the club website and stuff like that before we were on the naughty step. And yeah, just got loads and loads of footage of it. Just always interested. Let me know if you feature in that at all. Anyway, I'm going to talk about something a little bit less jolly today, which is Lucas Paquetá. I'm not going to leave you hanging. It's turned out, and it's transpired, that he's going to find out his fate next week. Not only that, the hearing is ongoing now, today, yesterday, that the hearing has continued, and it's going to be finished next week. Now we got a little bit of context, now we got a little bit of meat on the bone, and now we can start to understand why he got so upset the other day. It wasn't, as a lot of us thought, the uncertainty and the culmination of 2 years. It was probably the certainty. It was probably the certainty that he is going to get the decision. It's not for me to tell Lucas Paquetá how he might feel about such a thing, but I'm pretty sure, you know, with this having dragged on for such a long time, he's going to want to know one way or the other. Everybody wants to know one way or the other. I don't like the way a lot of this has been handled. And I think looking at the way he was visibly upset against Tottenham, and not just because we were playing Tottenham, that's enough to upset anyone, of course, but it was the added burden of 2 years. So he was first charged not charged, it was first announced that he was under investigation in the summer of 2023. He wasn't actually charged until March 2024. So we're almost at the summer of summer 2025. It's been almost 2 years. 2 years. So much of this stuff has dragged on. So I'll try and give a little summary. Let's give a summary of what's happened. He was about to join Manchester City for 80-odd million quid. Days before it was about to happen. We were going to get Cole Palmer. It seems like a long time ago. It broke down because the FA announced that they were investigating him into yellow cards, basically suspicious betting patterns that were placed on yellow cards that Lucas Paquetá had picked up, and a lot of the bets had come from his hometown, his Paquetá Island. But I haven't made that up, by the way. That is a place that it exists, like Gonzo Island or something. No, I don't think that does exist. Now, as we understand it, it was Betway, the club sponsor, that alerted the football authorities to this point, to what was happening. And at that time, we didn't really have a clue what was going on. And then a little while later, we got whiff that his Uncle Bruno, as he's become, well, that is his name, Bruno Toledo, I think that's his name. He was also under investigation by both Spanish authorities and also by Brazilian authorities for his role in placing bets, and he paid money to a player in La Liga who'd got a yellow card. I think he paid him 5,000 euros, something like that. I think when that happened, I started to think, well, hold on a second, there's possibly something in this. Now, it looked so serious, particularly when you were hearing that the FA were pushing... Excuse me, I've got to scratch my back. Particularly when you were hearing that the FA were pushing for a lifetime ban. I think personally, I thought, well, how bad is this? Is this some international betting cartel? Or to what point is he involved? I looked at his uncle was involved in an investigation which was being led at government level in Brazil. I thought, well, this don't look good, does it? This is not good at all. So I thought it was really big, really big. I think the Spanish investigation got wrapped up pretty quickly, and I think his uncle was charged, and certainly the player, whose name escapes me, was charged as well. The Brazilian one happened afterwards, and a lot of people were given evidence. There was a couple of accusations placed against Paquetá, one of which was that he had deliberately picked up a yellow card to mark his brother's birthday. The suggestion was that he'd taken a yellow card as a gift to his brother, and basically, there you go, place some money on that. I thought this stuff was big, right? I really did. All the time, the FA are trying to gather evidence. They'd taken Paquetá's phone off him. They then gave it back. Then, you're looking at the timescale, a long period of time had elapsed, and then the FA demanded Paquetá's phone back, but he didn't have it anymore. And as much as suspicious as that might sound, I think we've all done it, right? What do you do? You know, it was gone. My old phone, for instance, is completely wiped, and my daughter has it. And the one before that, I don't know where it is. I'm not being not under scrutiny from the FA. So I'm just telling you the truth. I've got nothing to hide particularly. A lot of this stuff got leaked out, and it was details that Paquetá didn't think should be leaked out. So Paquetá's legal team suggested that maybe they might take some action against the FA because someone in the FA was leaking some of the details of the hearing. Anyway, what did come out were the details that actually the bets were actually quite small, and they ranged from £7. I mean, talking about a single bet, so a single bet being placed on a Paquetá yellow card, a single bet for £7 to 100, just over £100. But the majority of the bets were all under £50. At that point, I thought, well, hold on a second, this is not. No one's. I'm assuming at this point, unless we hear differently, because I seem to remember somebody pointing out that there weren't limitless bets. So it's not like there was a £7 bet and there was 100,000 bets placed on it. I think we are looking at quite a nominal number of bets. So nobody's getting rich off this at all. So it went from Paquetá being not really, whilst he was named in the Brazilian investigation, he wasn't charged with anything there. So I guess they found nothing on him. To us then finding out that actually it was quite nominal sums of money. Now, so this whole thing in my mind that there was some betting cartel and whatever, big crime syndicate or whatever I might have had in my mind, that all dissipated, right? There was people winning tenors and stuff like that, right? I think after that it started to look a little bit more shaky, and then what happened was it's dragged on for so long, I started to wonder quite how much evidence the FA had. Now, personally, I think they probably should have taken this immediately to the Supreme Court. They should have taken this to a higher, I don't know if that's actually the right term, but they should have taken this to a higher level than just a sporting hearing. And I think if he gets found guilty, that's what will happen. Because we are dealing with someone's livelihood now, and I just think it's gone beyond someone's livelihood, and it's actually gone, and you're dealing with someone's mental health. And I think the FA for it to drag on for so long, the FA have a duty of care as well. You'll hear a lot about duty. You'll hear the FA. There's a lot of platitudes. There's a lot of talk about mental health in the FA. A lot of virtue signalling. I'm not seeing an awful lot here. I do think they have a duty of care. Obviously, I'm a West Ham fan. I'm going to be biased, and I'm sort of, hoping that Lucas Paquetá is innocent. But I do think it's good for all concerned that we're about to find out, and we're going to find out next week. If he does get found innocent, and I don't know much, I'm not a legal mind, I don't know much about these things. But then again, this is, at the moment, we are not dealing with, this is a civil hearing. This is not a legal matter. This is what's going on at the moment. But I do think if he does get found innocent, then there's while still keeping it as a civil matter, that there's definitely cause for recompense, I think, on Paquetá's, for the distress caused to Paquetá, for any money he might have missed out on in any potential move to Manchester City, and whatever West Ham might have missed out on. If we were going to sell, and I think it's easy enough to agree, if Manchester City were pledging £80 million and there was dialogue there, there'll be some trail of that. If it was clear that Manchester City were going to pay £80 million, Lucas Paquetá, and let's say we're going to go and sell him now, we can only sell him for 40, then we've missed out on £40 million. And then obviously Paquetá's missed out on the increments of whatever he would have got at Manchester City above and beyond his West Ham wage, which I would imagine would be at least double. I don't know. It'd be significant. And I hope he gets that day. And I'm not just saying that just as a West Ham and get a sneaky £40 million. It's not that at all. I think if he is innocent, and unless they're going to produce some whopping great bit of evidence, then I'm prepared to believe he's innocent. As I say, I've toed and froed on it, as I've just explained. As it's gone along, the longer it's gone on, the more shaky it looks. But I also do think if there was this massive piece of evidence, this slam dunk of a, there you go, there's the bank statements, there's the phone calls, there you have it, you were tipping them off, you've been making money, they've been making money. I think if that was there, it wouldn't have dragged on for as much as it has. And I do wonder if Betway have raised concerns and whether the FA felt duty-bound to investigate them. But it is quite clear, I don't think much more would have been passed on, apart from, we think this is a little bit suspicious, there's not many betting patterns go like this. But it was just weird. When I heard we were dealing with bets for small amounts, I became a lot more confident in his legal team's confidence. I understood why they were sure. And of course, it's really important to say that Paquetá's protested his innocence throughout all of this. But we're going to get it. We're going to get it. We're going to get an answer. And I think that's a good thing. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play against Manchester United. And I think that's been alluded to. The club have said they're worried about him, his ability and his suitability to play the next game. I'm quite sure he would say he wanted to play, by the way. He seems to have taken great comfort from the fact that he can play football. I'm sure it's an escape. I'm sure for the 90 minutes or whatever he's on the pitch, he's probably not thinking about that. And I'm sure he loves playing football more than anything else. And I'm sure he's probably all right. I'm sure if he retired or whatever, he was banned, he would go back to Paquetá Island and live out the rest of his days, and him and his family wouldn't have to worry about money again. I'm quite certain about that. But he'd never be able to play professional football again. I think that would be really, really tough for him. That's for sure. It's too many comparisons with the Ivan Toney case. Ivan Toney had 300, basically admitted guilt to 300 counts. He said, "Yeah, I did it." There was no investigation was needed. He admitted culpability. It just took him a while to sentence him. I don't think the sentencing is coming. I think we find if he's guilty or innocent next week, we're not going to find the sentencing. Hopefully that is null and void, because hopefully he's innocent. And then I know he'll leave. I don't expect there to be a particularly happy ending for West Ham. I think if he's either way, if he's guilty, we don't get to see him play for West Ham again. I think if he's innocent, we don't get to see him play for West Ham again. But I think for him, for his life, for him to be able to, to carry on and get along and to move on. I think actually for West Ham to move on, Graham Potter, if he's going to lose Paquetá, he's going to have to bring in, another creator. He's going to have to bring in somebody to unlock defences, isn't he? So, it's going to allow him to move on and help sort of build the team in his image anyway. Anyway, there you go. I think a bad subject, but ultimately the end is in sight, so that much at least is probably good news.